Hi everyone, I'm in the beautiful city of Brașov in Romania, and the reason I'm here is because I was invited to speak at the third Passage House conference here. And the reason I'm making this video is to share with you the highlights from the conference. So firstly, there were a lot of interesting presentations. The conference was kicked off with a presentation by Jessica Grove-Smith from the Passage House Institute, and she showed us many projects from all over the world which have been recently certified. And now, for example, we have the first certified Passage House Plus building in Taiwan. We have the first certified residential building in Chile. So it's great to see that the startup is growing worldwide, and it's not only focused on Europe or the US, but it's now everywhere. Then there was also a presentation made by Dragos, who is also part of the Passage House Institute, and he presented the Hotel Marcel. Hotel Marcel is a brutalist historic building which was renovated to the Enerfit standard, and now, as you might guess, it's a functioning hotel. And the main challenge of the project was that they had to preserve the aesthetics of the building. So they couldn't insulate it externally, so the only way to insulate it was to do it with internal insulation. And then they also changed the windows, but the window frames were hidden behind the existing facade. So now when you look at the project from the outside, you can really see the beauty and still old aesthetics and the brutalist aesthetics of the project. So it's a very beautiful example for historic retrofits. There was also a presentation by Clarence from the Netherlands, and she presented to us an apartment building where the owners of the apartments decided to retrofit the whole building to the Enerfit standard, and they got much better conditions from the bank. So they got a lower interest rate, they got a longer period to return the credit, and this allowed them to invest more in energy efficiency. Because of the longer period and lower interest rate, they had lower monthly fees that they have to return for the credit, but at the same time they had lower energy bills. So it's great that banks worldwide are also starting to incentivize people and stimulate people to invest in energy efficiency. And I also made a presentation which was about energy efficient buildings in climates with hot summers and cold winters, and that's the case for many countries on the Balkan Peninsula, but also in general many countries in cool temperate zones. So what I presented was the main principles and how the main Passage House design principles should be adjusted for these climate zones, but at the same time what strategies can be used in order to achieve optimal thermal comfort even during the very hot summer months. And this whole presentation I made based on a case study project which is for a certified Passage House building in which my parents have been living for the past 7 years. And the whole building was monitored throughout this whole period, and we have all the energy bills, all the calculations, so it was interesting to compare the calculated and measured results. But not only that, but it was interesting to see also the financial case. Like in the beginning we calculated a specific return on the investment, and then we have the actual pays for the energy bills and what we paid for the energy bills. So that's also something that I presented. And if it's something that you also want to see and you're interested in, let me know in the comments and I will make a whole separate video about this presentation. There were also many other interesting presentations, but because they were in Romanian, I couldn't understand them all. But based on the heated discussions and based on the reactions from the public, I can say that they were all very interesting. There were also exhibitors, so manufacturers of Passage House components. An interesting component was timber aluminum windows, which are one of their frames was certified to the Passage House standard. And it was interesting because they had a lot of different types of timber, but there were also two options. One option was with triple glazing, another with quadruple glazing, which is for much colder climates. But my advice to you is always when you speak to window manufacturers, ask them for the UF value, so the U value of the frames, because very often manufacturers give only the U value of the whole window, but what we really need is the UF value. And just to give you an estimate of what value to be looking for cool temperate climates, you should look for optimal values between 0.8 and around 0.9 watts per square meter Kelvin. There was also a manufacturer of an ICF system, so insulated concrete formwork, and these systems, they make the whole construction process much faster because you just put the Lego blocks on top of each other, then you put the reinforcement inside, the concrete is poured, and that's it. So you don't have to deal with additional formwork, you don't have to deal with putting insulation on the facade because the insulation is already there integrated within the formwork. Now something to keep in mind is that the whole building is going to be made out of concrete. So yeah, that's just something for you to consider. And on the second day of the conference, we had a tour around 2 certified Passage House projects. The first one was a certified step-by-step retrofit, who was the project of Varga, who is also the organizer of this conference. And what's a step-by-step retrofit? Well, that's a building that's been sequentially retrofitted throughout time. So firstly, they started, for example, with putting the insulation, changing the windows, etc. I'm not sure about the exact steps with this specific project, but that's how it usually works. And now we saw already the fully finished building, and I can say it was very, very beautiful because they really preserved preserve the aesthetics of the project. Before, the building used to be in green color, so now they incorporate this green color in a few details around the building, like for example the window frames. So they had timber aluminum frames, and on the inside you see the beautiful timber. On the outside you see the green aluminum frame. There were also stones on the facade, and those stones were taken from a building which was demolished locally nearby, and they took the stones and incorporated them in the facade. And then inside, the interior was also very beautiful. The existing oak floor was still there. So not only from an energy efficient point of view, but also aesthetically, the building was really beautiful. And I've seen it in presentations before, but I can say that in person it's even better. And the second project that we saw was a certified Passhouse office building. And from the outside, it has very big glazed facade with some interesting shading elements. And many people think that it's not possible to have an energy efficient building with big windows, but that was a beautiful example that it is possible. And from the interior, the building was also beautiful with a combination between architectural concrete, wood and glass. And there was also a roof terrace. So on part of the roof there were PV panels, the rest of the roof could be used from the workers in the office building. So that's a beautiful project to see. And the conference was ended with a workshop. So this workshop was organized by Marius, and there were a lot of details shown. So we had a timber structure, COT structure, there was also a solid structure with concrete and masonry, and also a metal structure. So how to avoid the thermal bridges with each of those structures, but also how to make the structures airtight, which are very critical details for not only for Passhouse buildings, but energy efficient buildings in general. And I want to thank Sabi again for the invitation. It was a great pleasure for me to be here. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to clarify that or even make a separate video on the topic. And now I'll go walk around and enjoy the beautiful nature. So see you in the next video.